What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Well, the word is Shah from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City has been sentenced to federal prison for 78 months or 6.5 years. And I was a little bit shocked. I thought that she was going to get what her defense team requested, which was 3 years. The federal government was seeking 10 years. She was actually facing 30 years for one count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud with telemarketing. And she was also facing an additional 20 years for one count of money laundering. So 30 years for the conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 20 years for the money laundering. That's a total of 50 years. So considering that she got 6.5 years, some may say that she got off almost scot-free. But I know that's going to be the hardest 6.5 years of her life. Because when Teresa Giudice went to prison for 3 years, I think it was it 3 years or was it however long she was in prison, it profoundly changed Teresa Giudice. When she came out of prison, you can tell that it had a huge effect on her. You can tell that it was really, really, really hard on her. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like for Jenshah to do 6.5 years. But, she has to pay the piper. This is what it is. You're going out there victimizing a very vulnerable segment of our community, which is the elderly, robbing them blind, misleading them, manipulating them. Absolutely horrible what she did. It's not any different to me than someone putting a gun in someone's face, putting a gun in, an old lady's face and demanding all her money. It's absolutely no different. So yeah, this is what it is. There's no way to sugarcoat it. I do feel sorry for her only because, I'm human, she's human, so I do feel bad for her. But I feel even worse for her victims, people who have spent their entire lives saving money, trying to put away money for their retirement years, for their old age, putting money away for grandchildren to attend college, etc. And then here you have this person who comes in, her and her co-conspirator Stewart, just robbing these people blind. So my heart definitely goes out to the victims, no doubt about that. And this is not going to bring any money back to them, which, she needs to repay every single penny of this while she's living high on the hog with her name brand this and her name brand that, even though I read an article that a lot of her bags and stuff were not even authentic. A lot of them were fake, but she did have a good chunk that were actually real. Living high on the hog, with her big houses and her cars and her jewelry, making sure that her kids are taken care of, while these people were almost left destitute. So, but as far as the fact of her serving this time in prison, 6.5 years is a long, long time, especially someone who has been used to living in the lap of luxury almost. For some people, like for real, like hardcore street criminals, sometimes going to jail or going to prison is a little bit better than living on the streets. But for a person like Jen, who was, a wealthy woman, I don't know. I just don't know how it's going to be for her in prison. I just don't know. 6.5 years in federal prison for Jen Shah. I'm a little bit shocked. Like I said, her defense team was seeking 3 years. The prosecution was seeking 10 years. So I guess after she pled guilty, this was probably part of the plea agreement for her to do the 6.5. I know her kids have to be devastated. That's another thing. Her kids also being the real victims of all of this, along with the people that she victimized. Now her children are going to have to, suffer through this of seeing their mother behind bars and all the stuff that goes along with being a famous person who's not going to be convicted and having to serve almost 7 years in prison. I don't know how she's going to do it. I don't know how I hope that, the faith that she was portraying on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, I hope and pray to God that this was real, that her faith was real, because if nothing else, it's going to be her faith that is going to help her get through this. And obviously the support of her husband and her children and her family. It's just absolutely disgraceful. I mean, is it worth it, Jen? Was it worth it? Was it worth the fake bags? Was it worth trying to one up your neighbors, trying to one up your friends, or whatever the hell you were doing? Was it really worth damn near 7 years behind bars, 7 years taken from you. You have a son that is in high school. You're not going to be there for the graduation. You have another son that is going to who's trying to be a doctor. You're not going to be there for that process. Was it worth it? For what, Jen? For what? I bet you wish that you had a regular 9 to 5, making, an average income of whatever, 40 to 60,000 a year. I bet, you would do anything just to have an average life, making an average income and just doing average things. But instead you were greedy. It was the love of money got you into this really dark, dark hole, and it wasn't even worth it. It wasn't even worth it. My heart definitely goes out to the victims. My heart goes out to her family, especially her kids. Coach Shah, man. When you see Coach Shah, he seems so centered, very knowledgeable, very reasonable man, compassionate. And I'm just trying to always figure out, I've always wondered what drew him to a woman who was so obsessed with worldly things, who was so obsessed with material things, so obsessed with money, 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 money. Because Coach Shah seems like he would do just great living in the middle of the forest or living in the middle of the desert, or, he seems like it doesn't, like, he understands what's important in life. He understands the true meaning of life, the things that really matter. And he married a woman who acts like she just doesn't get it. Like, she would rather steal money from senior citizens to uphold this fake lifestyle. And I'm like, Coach Shaw, what did you ever see? Whatever he saw in her, whatever it was, he loves this woman. He loves Jen Shah. And I know he's going to stick by her side until she comes back out again. And my understanding is when you do federal time, you have to do like 90% of your time, at least, if not the full time, that there is no chance, very little possibility of being released early. I just don't know. I just don't. I'm still a little bit like shocked that she got 6.5, because I really thought it was only going to be like 3, because of her being, a TV personality and her having the money to, for these lawyers. But I guess her lawyers did their job, because she was facing 50 years. So I guess her lawyers did a damn good job for her to, come away with only 6.5. Anyway, that's my little spiel on Jen Shah. Thank you so much for clicking on my channel on your way out. Don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.